Hey everyone, Tech Rally here, and today I'm not in my usual set. I don't have my camera, I don't have my microphone, I don't have my lighting, but I'm going to practice what I preach about being consistent and making content. So today I'm going to be focused on eliminating distractions, and specifically eliminating distractions in your software developer journey. Too often than not, I feel that a lot of people debate about top 5 languages, top 5 frameworks, top 5 gurus you should listen to. Who knows what people are talking about these days, but ultimately, as fun as it is to debate about those things, these are more distractions than solutions. And for you that may be new to software development, I would say try to avoid these kind of distractions because there really is no one language that beats all or one framework that beats all. Everything has a use case and a purpose. Outside of just having those types of discussions, really our lives are now revolved around TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and these are very, very time consuming to your everyday schedule. I myself am not immune to it. I could spend hours and hours on YouTube or TikTok, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, I've wasted like 3 to 4 hours, right? But outside of it just being a pure time guzzler, going on these applications, it really feels that all of our problems can be solved within 10 minutes or less, which is far from the case, especially in software development. It seems like we're always trying to find hacks or solutions to optimize our learning, but with coding and software development in general, you're going to have to commit a lot of time to be successful. I know that a lot of YouTubers say to build your own projects and it's really going to help you learn. But another point of view that you can take from doing your own projects is that you have to stay hyper focused into what you're doing. When you're doing tutorial, it can be very misleading of you doing work because these days, so many people are good at typing that their mind can wander while following along with code. I've seen other people say that, I'm learning this tutorial on 2x speed, or I'm have another window open on the side and reading about JavaScript while doing this tutorial. It's like, there's no way that you can be doing so many multiple things at the same time. If anything, this is more of a distraction than a productivity hack because you're not really retaining the information. As someone that has multiple screens open and whatnot, I also fall into this trap sometimes where when I'm reading a tutorial or following along with the tutorial that I might be watching sometimes, but that really steers me away from the actual material that I'm trying to learn. My attention span, because of platforms like Twitter and YouTube, has really deteriorated my attention span. Whenever I open up a new Chrome browser, my automatic muscle memory is to see what videos are out there, but that's such a bad habit. I found myself needing to having a detox even from my workstation and going to a cafe and just having my single laptop in front of me. And the reason why that's important is because I have one monitor, one keyboard, one window at a time. By not having multiple screens to look at, I realize there's only so much real estate each screen can take. I stay super focused on whatever task is in front of me. So yes, I know it's cool to see all those workspace setups where they have multiple monitors with lighting and all of that stuff, but come on, let's be honest, those are just pure aesthetics and all of it is done for the gram. Sometimes you just need to eliminate all those distractions and just open up the windows that you only need to get the work done. If you are following a tutorial, then have your tutorial browser open, have your terminal open, have your IDE open, and then have your local browser open that's running your server. Other than that, eliminate all the other distractions like the YouTube window, the Gmail window, maybe you're looking at stocks on the side or your crypto investments, who knows? Just eliminate those distractions when you're learning how to code and just stay single focus minded on whatever you need to do to get the job done. Outside of the day-to-day productivity hacks that you need to fix on your own, I also believe that you need to make sure to remove any distractions on your coding path journey. And what I mean by that is make a decision on a tech stack and stick with it. There is no one tech stack that will beat all. I really believe that if you get really good at one language and one framework, you can easily adapt to other technologies as necessary. Personally, for me, I started on Ruby and Ruby on Rails with vanilla JavaScript. Now I mostly work in JavaScript and using React on the front end, and in the back end, I do a mixture of Node.js and AWS. It's not what I started with, but this is kind of what I do now, and it's because I'm able to adapt to different situations after I got comfortable with a single language that am a software developer. I'm not a Ruby developer. I'm not a Java developer. I'm just a software developer. And ultimately, that's the most important part. Trying to learn so many different languages in the beginning of your career is more detrimental. And again, that's why I don't really love those, oh, is Python gonna be the next language that kills JavaScript or whatever? It just doesn't make sense. Just focus on a single language, choose a framework, and stick with it. If you told me, okay, Tech Rally, like what is the best framework to learn when I'm starting off? There is no real good answer to this, but if you really want my opinion, I would just say stick with JavaScript, learn your HTML and CSS, learn React, and pick Node as your framework. What you do with Node after that is really up to you. You could either stick it with a Mongoose database or you could do it with Postgres. So in other words, you could do the MERN stack or the PERN stack. Whatever you find is more suited to your needs and what makes more sense, I highly encourage you to choose that route, but stick with it. Even if the job that you're applying for doesn't even have those stacks, you can show to your recruiter or your hiring manager saying like, hey, these are the applications I've built. This is the experience I have. I know that I don't know these specific technologies, but at least you could show some quality projects that represent what you're capable of doing. Forget about knowing every single backend framework or knowing every front-end framework. Just stick with a framework that works for you and helps you build some type of meaningful project, because the projects are going to reflect your skills and the effort that you put into making something of quality. So what we talked about so far is productivity distractions, choosing a language or a coding path distractions. But the third thing I want to talk about is removing personal distractions. Personal distractions can be a touchy subject, but what I want to emphasize here is that, look, you've made a commitment to become a software engineer and learn how to code. But you also have to realize that this is not an easy path, and it's going to take a lot of work and it's going to take a lot of time commitment. The time commitment that you put into your work is going to reflect the type of projects that you have, the type of skills that you know, and all of that. But if you're not committing enough time to it, then you're just not going to be a good software developer. And this is where personal distractions can come in. For me, I had to remove about 3 to 6 months of personal distractions where I wasn't attending to weddings, where I wasn't going to friends' birthdays. And I'm not saying that you have to completely eliminate all of those things, but you just can't be as readily available as you used to be when you weren't learning how to code, because whatever you put into learning how to code will have to sacrifice other things. You may not be able to attend those baby showers or those weddings or whatever special events that occur, but that is a sacrifice that you must make during this time. Yes, if you don't want to remove those personal distractions, then you should understand that this is going to take a lot longer than you originally anticipated. By removing personal distractions, you're telling yourself that I'm making a commitment into this software developer journey and I want to see what I can get out of this. I know firsthand that FOMO is a real thing. But trust me when I say this, and even from my own personal experience, being able to say no and seeing what that outcome was because I said no has gotten me to a point where I've lived with no regrets regarding this software developer journey. Looking back, it's easy to say that I made the right decision when I was focusing on learning how to code rather than going to that bar for a friend's birthday. But at that time, it was so hard to really justify like, hey, you can't spend 2 to 3 hours out of your time to go to a friend's thing, or you can't spend the weekend to attend the wedding. And in some cases, yes, I can't do those things. I couldn't do those things. I didn't have anything to fall back on. And when you have nothing else to fall back on, sometimes you have to make these sacrifices of removing all these distractions that could come into your software developer journey. Ultimately, what's really important here is that I made learning how to code and becoming a software developer such a high priority that anything else was just plain distractions. So long story short, I say eliminate the distractions. I know I went a lot of different ways about this with the productivity, choosing a learning path, and even eliminating personal distractions. But you can see how little distractions here and there can add up and can really hinder you from getting to that next step of becoming a software engineer. You can't just learn how to code passively. Coding requires you to have not only time commitment, but it requires your full attention. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to really build anything super meaningful. So long story short, remove as many distractions as you can as possible. Try to really stay isolated and focus on whatever tasks that you need to do. And hopefully that'll really level you up in your software developer journey. that's it for me today, everyone. It's a little bit of a shorter video. Like I said, the quality may not be as good, but what's ultimately the most important thing here, and I hope I'm kind of showing it to you guys, is that consistency is important. And some days are gonna be really good quality and some days it might not be. Either way, I encourage you to keep on coding, developers, and your time will definitely come. Tech Rally out.